unbelievable. When you look at Secretary Mattis was in the Oval Office, he was on the phone with CIA Director Pompeo this afternoon or this morning. He values their opinion. I don't think you can express in words how much respect he has, whether it's Chairman Dunford, General Mattis, General Kelly, Director Pompeo. All of these individuals, I think he's shown through deed and action and word how much he cares about them. The first stop he made was to the CIA, because of how much he values the work that they do and the respect that he has for them. So I really don't know how much more he can do to show how much he values them.
And then my second question, my last
We're not
question.
going anywhere.
When you talk about these 7 countries, these Muslim majority countries, talking to a former official in the Obama administration from Homeland Security, they're saying that what you're doing is very different from what they did, and it's much more restrictive. What do you say to that?
That we're going to put the safety of Americans first. We're not going to wait and react. As I said in the statement, the president's going to be very proactive with protecting this country. We're not going to wait till we get attacked and figure out how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. He's going to do everything in his power to stop every threat that we face in this country and every potential threat. And that's the key point in this. How do we get ahead of threats? How do we keep America ahead of the curve when it comes to people who want to do us harm? And that's what the president's done, is he's made sure that every way possible we get down the path of securing this country, putting America's safety and security first and foremost, bar none. Major Garrett.
Sean, you suggested over the weekend, and so did Stephen Miller, that the action taken on the executive order might have been related to some specific intelligence, that it was necessary to prevent something from happening, and any questions about why certain agencies may not have been as briefed up can be explained in part because it needed to happen right away. Can you?
Well, no, I think just to explain on that,
you were trying to get.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. I think what we're trying to say is you don't know when the next threat's coming. You don't know when the next attack's coming. And so the best you can do is to get ahead of it, because if you wait, you're going to be reacting. And what I think I want to be clear on is the president's not going to wait. He's going to make sure he does everything in his power when he can to protect the homeland and its people. That's it. And so getting ahead of threats is the key. Not waiting till they happen, not saying, hey, once it happens, how do we react to make sure it doesn't happen again? I think what I want to be clear about is that since becoming president, he's continued to take steps through executive order and otherwise to make sure that this country is as safe as it can be and that we're ahead of every threat.
In other words, it was not put in place on the timeline it was put in place and the procedures it was put in place because of specific intelligence that was suggesting something.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Okay, I just want to make sure on that.
Yes, all I'm saying is that his view in general is not to wait to get ahead of the curve. There wasn't a specific threat. It was saying we have to do this Saturday, Sunday will be, but the point that I'm trying to make is that we don't know when that hour comes. We don't know when that individual crosses into our border to do us harm. And so the idea of waiting when you don't know, could it be that night? Could it be the next day? Could it be the next week? And the president's view is, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to make sure that we protect the homeland and its people as soon as possible with every measure that I can. John Roberts.
Just following up on that a little bit, I've got 2 questions unrelated, so I'll ask the second one after. Number of legal challenges against this executive order. What's your level of confidence that you will prevail legally, and what's the basis for that level of confidence?
Well, and the most prominent case is the one in the Eastern District of New York, and I think we won't even have to prevail in that case. It doesn't make any sense. It deals with people who are being deported. The action never spoke to it, never intended to deport people. It had to do with how do we process people in and detain them until we ascertained whether or not they sought to do us any harm. And again, remember, we're talking about a universe of 109 people. There were 325,000 people that came into this country over a 24-hour period from another country. 109 of them were stopped for additional screening. We've got to keep this in proportion, folks. This is 109 people being stopped out of 325 over a 24-hour period. And I know that everyone likes to get where they want to get to as quick as possible. And I think the government did a phenomenal job of making sure that we processed people through, but we did so knowing so that the people who were coming in hadn't done anything that was seeking to do us harm. That's it, plain and simple. And I think that's an important thing to note, that when you actually look at the perspective of what's going on. You note the polls that were going up this morning. You know, a majority of Americans agree with the president. They recognize that the steps that he's taken were to keep this country safe and to make sure that we didn't look back and say, I wish we had done the following.
But Judge Donnelly's order is just one of a number.
There's 4, I believe, right? And I don't think any of the others are pertaining. All of the enforcement and action regarding the executive order is in place, and it still remains right now. And we feel pretty confident that if there's any problems, we'll prevail. It is again, this is a national security issue. These 7 countries were derived from what the Obama administration had deemed as needing further travel restriction. We followed through on that, and as we continue to go through this 90-day process review, we're going to make sure that we put a system in place that vets, extreme vets, these people who are coming into our country that potentially could do us harm. Plain and simple. John Gizzi.
So second question.
I'm sorry, I forgot. John said too.
You can't forget things like that. What's the president's response to Iran flagrantly thumbing its nose at the UN Security Council?
We're aware of
order, and if I could just finish, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who you mentioned will be coming here on the 15th, is looking to the White House for more sanctions against Iran.
And I think we're looking into that. We're aware that Iran fired that missile. We're looking into the exact nature of it, and I'll try to have more for you later.
Thank you, Sean.
So, John Gizzi.
Thank you very much. 2 brief questions. First, the president of ZOA, Zionists of America, put out a statement following the president's proclamation of the Holocaust, saying that the omission of Jews and what they experienced was, quote, painful, unquote. Is the president aware of some of the criticism from the American Jewish community, and does he plan to do anything about it?
Well, I think he's aware of what people have been saying, but I think by and large he's been praised for it. I think the president recognized the tremendous loss of life that came from the Holocaust, but I think with respect to Israel and the Jewish people specifically, there's been no better friend than Donald Trump when it comes to protecting Israel, building a better friendship with Israel. You look at what Prime Minister Netanyahu's talked about. He welcomes this administration. He appreciates the friendship and respect that he has shown to Israel and to the Jewish people. But to suggest otherwise, John, I frankly got to be honest. I mean, the president went out of his way to recognize the Holocaust and the suffering that went through it and the people that were affected by it and the loss of life, and to make sure that America never forgets what so many people went through, whether they were Jews or gypsies, gays, disability, I mean, priests. And I get it, but at the end of the day, I don't think when you look at the state of Israel or the Jewish people themselves, I think there's been no better friend to Donald Trump, especially after the last 8 years. The tremendous respect that he's shown Israel, the Jewish people, and to suggest anything otherwise is frankly a little disappointing.
Okay. Second question.
We're getting way too much to the second question.
Thank you. Several NGOs that have helped people from the countries affected have said they specifically have focused on people who interpreted for our military,
right,
and say they would be affected by this. I believe Secretary Mattis said he hoped to specify that to give these people a better shot at it. Is there going to be any change?
Well, you look at that one interpreter yesterday, came back, he was interviewed on television and said, I love Donald Trump. I think we recognize that people who have served this country, we should make sure that in those cases they're helped out, but that doesn't mean that we just give them a pass. The Obama administration, I think it was 2009, let 2 people through the Iraqi program in. Those people came to the United States and tried to plan an attack in Kentucky. I think that we've got to recognize that people who have helped this country, who have served this nation, might not be citizens at the time, want to come here, that we need to appreciate the service that they've had. That doesn't mean that we don't let them in without a certain degree of vetting. And I think that's what we're going to do to make sure, again, that the onus is on us to make sure that we're protecting